I told you to leave my things alone. Let go of the pot. Are you mad? This soup is for everyone. Let it go.
Husband snatcher, leave my husband for me. You must leave this house today. I will teach you a lesson never to snatch people's husband. Inside the Okoro mansion in Banana Island, silence was impossible. Chaos had erupted. Adaiora Okoro's heart pounded as she rushed through the marble-floored corridors. She could hear raised voices echoing from the master suite. Glass shattered somewhere, and the sharp scent of perfume mixed with fear and frustration. It was impossible to tell what had triggered the fight, only that the household had reached a breaking point. Emeka Okoro, her husband, stood at the center of it all, his face pale and tense. "Stop this right now!" he shouted, but neither woman seemed to be willing to listen. Chiamaka, the younger, ambitious wife, stood with Amanda in her arms, her eyes burning with defiance. "I will not be pushed aside," she yelled, her voice cutting through the tension like a knife. Adayora's children, Arinze and Somtochukwu, peeked from behind the staircase. Their mother's usually calm demeanor was gone, replaced by a storm of anger and fear. Even the seasoned house staff were frozen, unsure whether to intervene or run. "What have you done now, Chiamaka?" Adayora demanded, stepping closer. Her voice, usually soft and measured, was edged with fury. "Do you realize the consequences of dragging this family into public scandal?" Chiamaka laughed bitterly, a sound that echoed off the high ceilings. "Consequences? This family is mine as much as yours, and I will not let anyone, not even you, stand in my way." Emeka, caught between them, ran a hand through his hair, helpless. His pride, his carefully curated life, and the authority he believed he had in his home had crumbled in one night. Then the first disaster struck. The lights flickered and went out. Panic set in. The children screamed. Somewhere a vase shattered completely. Outside, a car horn blared loudly, as if the city itself was warning them. Adayora gritted her teeth. She had always maintained control, had always been the calm center of the Okoro storm, but now the very walls of her home seemed to betray her. And then it happened. A loud crash from the balcony. Everyone froze. Emeka ran, only to find Amanda crying, the toddler unharmed but terrified, and Chiamaka standing over a fallen chair, her expression unreadable. "This is just the beginning," Chiamaka whispered, almost to herself. Adayora's mind raced. She realized in that instant that the quiet rivalry she had endured for months was now fully exposed, and the chaos would only grow from here. Every choice, every move, every word would now carry dangerous weight. 2 wives, 1 husband, a home that had turned into a battlefield. And at that moment, Adayora understood a terrifying truth. In the Okoro household, nothing, not love, wealth, or family, was safe anymore. The night was far from over, and Lagos, unaware, continued to sparkle below. Who would survive this first night of chaos, and who would emerge stronger when the storm settled?
Let me take you back from where it all started. Chief Emeka Okoro and his wife, Adaora, were the kind of couple people in Lagos admired with awe-filled eyes. Their mansion in Banana Island sparkled every night, a symbol of success and power. Their children attended the best schools. Their cars, sleek, polished, and expensive, glided through the city like royalty passing through a town square. They were the picture of a perfect modern family. Ada Aura was known everywhere as a woman of class. She owned a luxury event planning company that served celebrities and governors. Every woman wanted her grace, every man admired her dignity from a distance. Amaka praised her often, telling friends that she was his greatest blessing. But beneath that shining gold lay something slowly cracking. Amaka loved respect more than peace. At business gatherings, when other men bragged about their younger wives and hidden love affairs, he would laugh loudly, pretending he was satisfied with only one woman. Yet deep inside, he felt pressured. It wasn't because Ada Aura was lacking. No. It was because his pride whispered that another beautiful woman would make him feel more powerful, more desirable, more respected among men with loud voices and empty hearts. One evening, Ada Aura prepared a grand dinner for his business partners. She had spent days organizing it, wanting Amaka to shine. She wore a stunning red dress and a warm smile. The party went perfectly, and as everyone left, they hailed them as the perfect couple of Lagos. But Amaka's expression changed the moment the doors closed. Ada Aura thought he was just tired. She kissed his cheek gently and told him she was proud of him. He smiled weakly, murmuring thanks, but something cold flashed in his eyes. He left the dining room without a word, heading to his private study. Ada Aura felt a sting of confusion, but brushed it away. Meanwhile, as the night grew silent, Amaka stood alone in his study, scrolling on his phone with trembling anticipation. A message popped up. "When can I see you again? I miss you." His heart thumped fast. He typed, "Soon. Don't worry, my love." And his lips curved into a forbidden smile. The next day, Ada Aura walked past his phone on the table. A message preview flashed quickly before disappearing. "Good morning, honey, two hearts." Ada Aura froze. That wasn't her message. Her throat tightened, her fingers trembling slightly. Questions flooded her mind, but she forced herself to breathe. She told herself it must be a business contact. A mistake. Something harmless. She wanted to trust her husband. But that night, while Amaka showered, his phone lit up again. "I can't wait to carry our baby. She kicked today." Ada Aura read the words like a knife cutting through every happy memory she ever had. Her knees grew weak. Another woman. Pregnant. Her heart dropped into darkness. And right there, in that golden mansion everyone envied, Ada Aura realized. Her perfect marriage was a lie. And the chaos had only just begun. Chiamaka Nwosu had never imagined she would one day be connected to a man as wealthy and respected as Chief Emeka Okoro. She grew up in Enugu, raised by a single mother who sold fabrics in Ogbete Market. Life was not easy, but Chiamaka had beauty that could silence a room and ambition that could shake the ground beneath her feet. When she moved to Lagos for fashion school, she promised herself she would never return home the same girl, poor, unnoticed, and overshadowed by the world. She met Amaka at a charity gala. She modeled a luxurious gown designed by her friend. As she walked down the runway with confidence and charm, Amaka watched her with admiration that no married man should give another woman. After the show, their eyes met again, and again, until fate allowed them a conversation. "You are stunning," Amaka had said, offering a smile that held both warmth and danger. "Thank you, sir," she replied politely. "You look like someone important." "I am," he answered boldly, "but right now, you are the only important thing in this room." That was the beginning. Chiamaka knew immediately that he was married. Lagos society was loud, and news traveled fast. Everyone knew Chief Emeka and his glamorous wife, Ada Aura. But Chiamaka believed life did not reward those who stepped aside quietly. She always chased what she wanted, no matter who stood in the way. Soon, expensive gifts started arriving at her apartment. A new car. Enrollment in an even better fashion academy. A luxury allowance. Emeka visited often, showering her with attention and promises. He told her things Ada Aura never heard. "You make me feel alive again. You are the future of my legacy. You deserve everything beautiful in this world." And Chiamaka believed him. When she found out she was pregnant, fear washed over her first, then pride. This child would secure her position forever. She would no longer be a hidden secret. She would be recognized. But Emeka reacted differently. His face went pale when she told him. He started pacing around her living room, rubbing his forehead. "This will change everything," he whispered. Chiamaka folded her arms, watching him closely. "Isn't that what you wanted?" she asked softly. "You said you needed a son to carry your family name further. Aurora has given you 2 children already. Why are you afraid now?" Emeka sighed deeply. "It's not fear," he said. "It is control. Aurora controls too much. In business, society, family. Everyone sees her as the real source of power behind me. A man must be respected in his own home." Chiamaka stepped closer, placing her palm on his chest. "So let me give you back that power," she whispered. He held her hand, staring into her eyes, seeing not only beauty, but opportunity. If he took Chiamaka as a second wife, it would restore his dominance. It would make society respect or fear him even more. But Lagos was a city where secrets never slept. He had to move carefully. "Nobody must know for now," he told her. "Not until the time is right." Chiamaka smiled, a smile filled with silent victory. "I will wait," she said. "But not forever." She gently guided his hand to her stomach. "Your child is growing. And when the world sees this child, they will know I belong in your home." Emeka swallowed hard. He was stepping into fire, and he knew it. But he convinced himself of a dangerous lie. He could handle the flames. Aurora woke up the next morning hoping yesterday was just a terrible misunderstanding. She convinced herself that the message she saw on Emeka's phone might have come from a business contact or a family friend joking playfully. She tried to forget the fear gripping her chest. But fear has a way of refusing silence. While Emeka showered, his phone buzzed again, louder, more persistent this time. Aurora hesitated only a moment before she reached for it with trembling hands. She unlocked the screen, using the familiar password she had known for years. New message. "I have a doctor's appointment today. The baby is healthy. Please come." Her heart stopped. Another message arrived quickly. "I don't want to raise our child alone." Aurora dropped the phone as if it burned her fingers. She grabbed the edge of the table to keep herself from falling. The room spun. The walls felt like they were closing in. Tears blurred her vision. He had another woman. And he had a child on the way. The shower stopped. Aurora quickly wiped her eyes and stepped away from the phone before Emeka walked back in. He noticed her silence, stiff, cold, unnatural. He approached her. "My love, are you okay?" he asked carefully. She forced a smile. "I'm fine," she whispered. But he heard the crack in her voice. That day, Aurora could not focus on anything. She sat in her office staring at documents without seeing any words. Her assistant entered multiple times to ask questions she couldn't answer. Her phone rang with calls she ignored. All she could think was, why would he destroy us? Later that afternoon, gossip began to spread like wildfire through the Lagos elite circles, whispers floating between manicured ladies at spas, in private Instagram groups, over wine lunches in Victoria Island. "Have you heard? Chief Emeka has a young girlfriend. They said she is already pregnant. I feel sorry for Aurora, such a beautiful woman." The humiliation was suffocating. Even her best friend, Ifema, made a shaky call. "Aurora. I didn't want to believe it. But I saw photos. Emeka was with a young woman at a private clinic in Lekki. Everyone is talking. Are you okay?" Adeora's throat tightened. She could no longer pretend. Tears streamed down her cheeks, unstoppable now. She pressed her forehead against the cool window glass and whispered, "How could he do this to me?" Her perfect world, the one she had guarded so proudly, was collapsing in front of strangers, critics, and enemies who secretly celebrated her downfall. When Emeka returned home that evening, Aurora did not scream. She did not accuse him. She did not even look angry. She sat on the sofa, eyes red, shoulders trembling. "Who is she?" she asked. Her voice was quiet, but dangerously clear. Emeka stopped. The truth stood between them like a fierce shadow. He opened his mouth to speak, but Aurora lifted her hand, stopping him. "Do not lie," she said. Silence filled the mansion. Finally, Emeka lowered his head. Her name is Chiamaka, he confessed. She is carrying my child. Ada closed her eyes, pain slicing deeper than any blade. So what am I? She whispered. Decoration? A trophy? A mask for your lies? Amaka stepped forward, trying to hold her, but she pulled away as though his touch was poison. I was loyal, she said, voice breaking. I loved you. And you have disgraced me. He tried to speak again, but every word he could think of already sounded like betrayal. That night, Ada cried until her pillow was soaked. She cried for the love she lost. She cried for her children who would soon face shame. She cried for herself, a woman who gave everything and now stood on broken ground. And as her tears fell, Lagos society continued to whisper. The story of Chief Amaka and Ada, once the perfect couple, had become the newest entertainment. The chaos had officially begun. 2 weeks passed after the truth finally came out. Ada remained quiet, but her silence was louder than any rage she could have shown. She moved through the mansion like a ghost, graceful, but wounded. She still cared for her children, still managed her company, but her heart felt permanently bruised. Amaka pretended not to notice the coldness growing between them. He convinced himself that things would eventually settle. But he was wrong. Chiamaka's pregnancy was growing, and her mother from Enugu demanded a proper traditional marriage. It is our culture, she insisted. A child must not come without a bride price paid. And Amaka, driven by pride and the desire to legitimize his actions, agreed. It had to be secret, no noise, no public invitations. Only a few family members from Chiamaka's side. They chose a quiet compound in Enugu where no magazine photographer or Lagos gossip blogger could spot them. The day of the ceremony, Chiamaka wore a beautiful red George wrapper with gold beads glimmering around her neck. She looked like royalty, young, vibrant, and full of victory. Her hand rested proudly on her belly. Amaka arrived with a small entourage. No one from Adeora's side. No one who would challenge his decision. He paid the bride price without hesitation, envelopes of money, cartons of drinks, symbolic gifts. Each one was accepted with approval and smiles. The elders blessed their union. Drums played softly in the background. To everyone present there, it was a celebration. But to the world outside, it was a dangerous secret waiting to explode. Chiamaka leaned into Amaka and whispered, "Now no one can deny I am your wife." He nodded, though anxiety flickered behind his eyes. Meanwhile in Lagos, Ada sat alone in the dining room, staring at the untouched food before her. Her children were with their cousins, unaware of how life was changing. She had tried to stay strong, but today the loneliness clung to her like heavy chains. Her phone vibrated suddenly on the table. She reached for it, expecting a message about work. Instead, she saw a photo. Amaka, smiling, wearing a traditional cap, standing beside a stunning pregnant bride. Another photo. Her husband kneeling to offer drinks to elders. Celebrating. Starting a life that did not include her. Then more photos came, from different angles, clearly taken by someone present, someone who wanted this secret to bleed into the public. Adeora's hands shook violently. Her vision blurred. She could barely breathe. She felt like her heart was physically tearing inside her chest. How could he do this? She gasped. She didn't even notice that tears had already fallen onto her phone screen. Social media erupted quickly. Chief Amaka takes second wife. Banana Island tycoon performs secret traditional wedding. So the rumors were true. What will happen to the first wife? The laughter, the mockery, the judgment, they spread faster than truth ever could. Ada locked herself in the bedroom. She slid down the door, hugging her knees, trembling like a leaf in stormy wind. The world she built with love and dignity now called her a woman not enough. Back in Enugu, Chiamaka checked her phone and saw the leaked images circulating everywhere. Her lips curled into a satisfied smile. She had won, at least for now. Amaka, however, felt a chill run through him as he realized what had happened. Secrets in Lagos? They never survive. The battle lines were now drawn. 2 wives. 1 husband. Pure chaos. And this was only the beginning. After the secret marriage leaked, Lagos society exploded with drama. Everyone suddenly had an opinion. Some blamed Amaka. Some blamed Adaora. But many, especially younger women online, praised Chiamaka for snatching a billionaire. The comments were sharp, judgmental, and sometimes cruel. Amaka hurriedly purchased a new luxury apartment for Chiamaka in Victoria Island, a stunning penthouse with glass walls overlooking the Atlantic Ocean. He did not want her anywhere near Banana Island where his first family lived. He thought distance would maintain peace. But peace was something he had already buried the day he betrayed Adaora. When Chiamaka stepped into her new home, she immediately felt like a queen. Marble floors, imported furniture, gold-plated details. Everything screamed wealth and power. She ran her hand along the sleek counters and whispered to herself, "This is just the beginning." She would not remain the hidden second wife. She intended to shine so brightly that no one could ever ignore her again. Meanwhile, Adaora was forced to come out of isolation. She had companies to run and children who needed her strength. But every day she woke up feeling like a stranger in her own body. The pain weighed on her like chains. When Amaka returned to the mansion, she did her best to remain composed. She refused to give him the victory of watching her break. But their silence toward each other was hostile, tense like a string ready to snap. One evening, Adaora waited for him in the living room. The dim lights reflected her calm but fierce expression. "So, where were you?" she asked, voice steady. "At the office," Amaka lied too quickly. Adaora looked deep into his eyes and whispered, "You were with her." He exhaled sharply, turning away. "Do not begin this drama." "Drama?" Adaora laughed bitterly. "You have destroyed our marriage, embarrassed me before the whole city, and yet you think I don't have the right to speak?" He had no answer. Adaora stood gracefully, though her heart ached. "I was your partner. Your equal. Now you treat me like a stranger in my own home." Amaka clenched his fists, his pride refusing to bend. "I am allowed to marry another wife if I choose. Our culture permits it." Adaora stepped closer, her voice low. "Culture permits it, yes. Betrayal does not." That night, they slept in separate rooms for the first time. Days later, Amaka brought gifts for the children at Chiamaka's request, expensive toys and clothes meant to win their affection. Adaora rejected the gifts immediately. "My children are not bargaining tools," she snapped. "Do not use them to impress your new wife." Word eventually reached Chiamaka, and her anger boiled. She wanted to be respected, not treated like an intruder. One afternoon, she sent a message directly to Adaora. "I am now Chief Okoro's wife too. You must learn to accept reality." Adaora stared at the message with disbelief. She typed back only 2 words. "Over my dead body." From that moment, the war was declared, silently but fiercely. Jealousy spread like poison. Hostility hardened into hatred. Both women claimed ownership of the same man. Both women refused to surrender. And Amaka, foolishly believing he could control the storm, found himself drowning in chaos he created with his own hands. The line between love and war had disappeared. 2 queens. Same kingdom. Only one could rule. The biggest victims in every broken home are always the children, even when adults pretend otherwise. In the Okoro mansion, Arins and Somto Chukwu could feel the shift in the air long before they understood why. Arins, 16 years old, had recently grown tall like his father. He watched Amaka with narrowed eyes, now eyes full of disappointment and confusion. Somto, only 12, was more fragile. She cried quietly at night, afraid to ask the questions burning inside her. One evening, as Adaora tried to help Somto with homework, the girl suddenly closed her book and whispered, "Mummy, why does Daddy stay away so much? Did we do something wrong?" Adaora's heart squeezed painfully. She took her daughter's hands gently. "No, my darling. You both did nothing wrong. Never blame yourselves." Somto nodded, but Adaora could see fear in her eyes. Arins, who pretended to focus on his phone, looked up briefly, his jaw clenched. He wasn't a child anymore. He understood betrayal. "Is it true?" Arins finally asked. "That Dad has another woman? And she's having a baby?" Ada froze. It felt like someone had ripped the last bandage from a wound that had not even started healing. She inhaled slowly, trying to stay strong. "Yes," she said, her voice calm but trembling. "It is true." Somto burst into tears instantly, hiding her face in her mother's lap. Arin stood up so quickly his chair scraped the floor. "That man," he muttered, pacing angrily. "How could he do this to us?" Ada pulled Somto close, trying her best to remain composed for their sake. "Listen to me," she said softly. "No matter what has happened between your father and I, he still loves you both. And you must not let anger guide you." But Arins shook his head. "I don't think he cares anymore." Meanwhile, across the city in her luxury penthouse, Chiamaka's pregnancy progressed smoothly. She enjoyed every moment of attention and gifts Amaka showered upon her, the new cars, the decorators preparing a nursery, the expensive baby clothes. She believed she had earned all of it. Finally, the day came. After hours of labor in a private hospital in Ikoyi, Chiamaka gave birth to a baby girl, a beautiful, bright-eyed child. Amaka named her Amanda. He held the tiny baby in his arms with pride swelling in his chest. The joy of new fatherhood washed through him, a perfect distraction from the chaos he left behind. He believed Amanda would bring unity, hope, a fresh beginning. But reality rarely follows dreams. News of the baby's birth spread quickly, reaching Ada through friends, through social media posts, through whispers everywhere she went. Mockery disguised as sympathy stabbed her from every direction. Maybe she should have given him a son, someone sneered online. If she was a better wife, he wouldn't look outside, another claimed. Ada refused to let her children see her latest tears. She locked herself in the bathroom and allowed her heart to break again, silently, painfully. Arins eventually cornered Amaka one afternoon when he came home briefly. "You replaced us," he said bluntly. "You care more about that baby than your own family." Amaka was shocked. "Don't speak like that to me. I am still your father." Arin's eyes hardened. "Then act like it." Somto peeked from behind the stairs, wiping tears as she listened. Amaka realized, for the first time, how deeply his actions had wounded his children, the people he claimed to love most. But instead of apologizing, his pride made him defensive. "You will understand when you grow older," he said sharply, then stormed out. Ada found Arins holding Somto, both siblings crying quietly. She wrapped her arms around them and whispered, "We will get through this, together." But deep down, she wondered, how do you protect your children when the enemy is their own father? The tension in the family grew thicker every day. And little Amanda, innocent and unaware, became the spark that lit an even bigger fire. Amaka believed that providing separate homes for his wives would create peace. He thought distance would protect him from the conflict he knew was inevitable. But two queens cannot share one kingdom even from across Lagos. For Ada, the Okoro mansion in Banana Island was her pride. She had built her life brick by brick with Amaka. She had stood by him before wealth, before fame, before power. She was the woman who survived hardship beside him. So she refused to let another woman rewrite her story. Chiamaka, on the other hand, saw herself as rising royalty. She had youth, beauty, and what she believed to be Amaka's new adoration. She wanted recognition, power, and the authority that came with being the wife of a wealthy titan. She wanted to be the madam of the Okoro dynasty. War was already brewing. Soon, both women demanded Amaka's time, his attention, and his presence, forcing him to be in two places at once. If he spent 2 nights with Chiamaka, Ada would punish him with silence and coldness. If he stayed longer in the mansion, Chiamaka would cry or accuse him of abandoning his newborn child. "Your place is here," Chiamaka insisted one evening as she fed baby Amanda. "I am the one who needs you now. She has everything already. Let me have something too." Amaka kissed Amanda's forehead and sighed heavily. "I will divide my time fairly." But fairness did not exist in this situation. Back in the mansion, Ada tried to maintain control of her home, but Amaka's absence made the staff nervous and uncertain. Some began listening to Chiamaka, who frequently sent messages and instructions regarding Amaka's personal affairs. One morning, Aurora noticed new furniture being delivered to the mansion. Luxurious pieces she had never approved. When she demanded to know who ordered them, a staff member whispered awkwardly. Madam Chiamaka, she said Chief wanted these changes. Aurora felt as though someone had slapped her. Chiamaka was already trying to control her household from across town. Aurora immediately called Amaka. I am still your wife. This home is mine. No one will replace me here. Aurora, Amaka rubbed his forehead. Try to understand. I need to keep both homes comfortable. Comfortable? Aurora laughed bitterly. Or controlled. Meanwhile, Chiamaka continued sending subtle attacks. She would post photos of expensive gifts Amaka bought for her. She would announce luxurious trips he promised. She would flaunt her new position online, reminding the world. She was part of this family too. One evening, Amaka arrived at the mansion to find Aurora supervising the removal of the furniture Chiamaka sent. That is wasteful, he said firmly. Why are you being difficult? Aurora stared at him without fear. She is attacking my home. And I will not sit quietly while she does. For the first time, Amaka realized both women were no longer waiting for his decisions. They were fighting for dominance, with him as the prize. His greatest mistake was believing he could control two women with strong hearts and powerful pride. Now, every choice he made became a weapon in this silent war. Every hour he spent in one home created resentment in the other. Every word he spoke could spark another battle. And every night, he wondered, where did the man who once had peace in his life disappear to? Without knowing it, he had turned his world into a battlefield. 2 wives. 1 husband. Pure chaos. And the true war had only just begun. The more power Chiamaka tasted, the more she wanted. She knew Amaka's greatest weakness, his ego. So she began to play a dangerous strategy, one that would hit Aurora where it hurt most. Finances. Amaka trusted Chiamaka enough to give her access to one of his business accounts, a gesture he thought would help her take care of their newborn. But Chiamaka saw it as her door into the empire. And she used that door boldly. Within weeks, she convinced Amaka to increase her monthly allowance, triple what he gave Aurora. She justified it with honeyed words. The baby needs the best. Our daughter deserves to grow up in luxury. You want her to be proud of who her father is, don't you? Every time Amaka hesitated, she reminded him how lonely she felt raising a baby mostly on her own. Guilt worked like magic. Meanwhile, Aurora began noticing strange changes in their household budget. Invoices were delayed. Accounts she managed were suddenly restricted. Her staff salary approvals required Amaka's signature again. It was subtle, quiet, but deliberate. One afternoon, her banker called politely. Madam, we noticed some authorizations changed, your card limits reduced. We assumed Chief Amaka informed you. Adeora's blood turned cold. She marched into Amaka's study, anger burning through her. You have started cutting my access to our finances, she demanded. Amaka rubbed his forehead, tired of constant conflict. Aurora, you spend too much time dwelling on the wrong things. This is my home. My life. I built everything with you, she shouted. You still have everything you need, he replied sharply. Let me handle my responsibilities to Amanda and her mother. Aurora stared at him, stunned. Her dignity stolen. Her authority challenged. Her worth questioned. Chiamaka's plan was succeeding. Next, she urged Amaka to invest more into the Victoria Island penthouse. We need more staff, she said sweetly. A private chef, a nanny, a security team. If you truly love your daughter, show it. Amaka approved every request. Luxury flooded the penthouse, new cars, new jewelry, new renovations. And every new expense tightened the financial rope around Adeora's world. Soon, whispers spread again in Lagos. Chiamaka is now the woman holding Chief Amaka's heart. She controls the money now. That first wife is losing her position. Aurora felt humiliation like never before. Her place, the one she had proudly held before society, was slipping from her hands. One evening, she stood alone in her walk-in closet, surrounded by designer dresses and expensive bags she no longer felt proud of. What is the point of wealth, she thought bitterly, if I must fight for my right to exist in my own family? That night, as she tucked her children into bed, Somto asked a quiet question. Mummy, will we have to move away someday? Ada Aura froze. That was when she realized the truth. This was no longer a domestic disagreement. It was a financial invasion. A strategic takeover. A threat to her identity. If she did nothing, she could lose everything: her respect, her status, and her children's future. Chiamaka wanted to be queen. But Ada Aura was not ready to be dethroned. And now, she would fight back. Night had settled over Lagos like a heavy curtain. The mansion in Victoria Island was quiet, but underneath that silence, secrets boiled like water ready to spill. The house staff had gone to their quarters. The children were asleep. Even the city traffic outside had softened. But one man remained awake: Obinna, the family driver. Obinna was not an ordinary driver. He had been with the family for 8 years. From the front car seat, he had seen more than any camera or friend could ever see. He had watched Amaka rise in wealth. He had watched Ada Aura suffer through silent disappointments. And now, he was watching the new chaos Chiamaka brought. He walked into the garage quietly, pretending to check the car battery. But his mind was focused on something deeper: truth he had kept hidden. Earlier that day, Obinna had overheard a phone call: Amaka yelling at someone and threatening to expose them if they told the truth about Amanda's birth. It wasn't the first time Obinna heard Amaka use that tone. But tonight, something felt different. Something dangerous. Obinna knew too many things. That Chiamaka was not just a younger love, she came from a family with interests in Amaka's company. That the pregnancy was not as simple as Amaka claimed. That some decisions had been made not because of love, but because of fear and business control. And most shocking of all, Obinna knew that Chiamaka held a secret that could destroy Ada Aura completely. As he leaned on the SUV, he heard footsteps. When he turned, he saw Chiamaka walking into the garage, wrapped in a silk robe, her face glowing from expensive skin cream. She looked irritated and restless. "What are you still doing here?" she whispered sharply. Obinna bowed slightly. "Just checking the vehicles, madam." She crossed her arms. "Good. You are loyal. You have always been loyal. I need someone like you." Obinna pretended not to understand. "Madam." Chiamaka stepped closer, lowering her voice. "I know you see everything. I know you hear everything. And I know you care about this family more than some who live in it." Her words struck him like cold wind. "Madam, is there something you need me to do?" "Yes," she said, smiling faintly. "There is information that must never reach Ada Aura. If she learns it, this entire arrangement will collapse." "What information?" Obinna asked carefully. Chiamaka's eyes moved left and right, making sure no one watched her. "Amaka and I have a contract. My pregnancy, my position, the shares. It is not just a marriage," she revealed quietly. "Ada Aura does not know anything. And she must never know." Obinna's throat tightened. So he had been right: the union was built on business and manipulation. Chiamaka leaned even closer. "Help me protect my place in this home," she whispered. "And there will be rewards for you. Big ones." Obinna froze. He had never been bribed before. He had always protected the family, the whole family. But now, sides were forming. Lines were being drawn. Suddenly, a different voice echoed from the shadows of the garage. "You should think carefully before making promises, Chiamaka." Chiamaka jumped. Obinna turned sharply, and his eyes widened. It was Amaka. He had heard every word. His face was serious, his eyes dark with warning. The tension felt like a storm trapped in a tight room. "I told you not to involve anyone in our matters," Amaka said slowly, staring directly at her. "Especially not him." Obinna swallowed hard. He knew trouble when he saw it. And tonight, he was standing right in the middle of it. Chiamaka straightened her shoulders, pretending confidence. "I am only trying to protect what belongs to me." "Be careful," Amaka replied. "This house already has too many secrets. And secrets have a strange way of coming out, at night." Chiamaka's expression shifted, pride, anger, and fear battling inside her. Obinna lowered his gaze, but inside his head, a promise formed. He would protect the children. He would protect Ada, even if that meant standing against the man who paid his salary. For the first time in his life, Obinna realized he was part of this family war, whether he liked it or not. And the night no longer felt quiet. It felt like the beginning of a dangerous storm. By the time Ada arrived at her office that Monday morning, Lagos was buzzing louder than ever. The leaked photos, the whispers about Chiamaka, and news of Amanda's birth had spread through social circles, newspapers, and online platforms like wildfire. Lagos elites had already formed opinions, some supporting Chiamaka, some pitying Ada, and others openly judging both women. Her assistant, Ngozi, approached cautiously, holding a tablet with a frown. "Madam, I don't know if you want to see this, but the news," she hesitated. "It's everywhere." Ada took the device, her fingers shaking slightly. Headlines screamed in bold fonts. Banana Island tycoon takes second wife. Chiamaka Okoro, from fashion student to Lagos society queen. Ada Okoro's marriage in shambles. She breathed slowly, forcing herself to stay composed. Her reputation, carefully built over years, was being tested in ways she had never imagined. She knew that any display of anger or desperation would only fuel the gossip. Lagos society thrived on spectacle, on humiliation, on drama. But she would not give them that satisfaction. Ada straightened her back and whispered to herself, "I will not fall. Not here. Not now." Still, the pressure was immense. Invitations to charity events and elite galas had vanished. Friends called less frequently. The whispers of judgment were not confined to offices and social clubs, even business partners subtly changed their tone when addressing her. Meanwhile, Chiamaka flaunted her pregnancy and new status, attending boutiques, gala dinners, and baby showers with the confidence of a queen who believed victory was already hers. Social media amplified her image, sparkling dresses, designer bags, and constant mentions of Chief Okoro's second wife. Every post was a challenge to Ada, a quiet assertion that her position was being usurped. One afternoon, Ada received a phone call from a trusted friend in Victoria Island. "Ada, they're talking about you in Lekki, in Ikoyi, everywhere. Chiamaka is controlling the narrative. People are asking why you are silent," the friend said gently. Ada exhaled slowly, staring out the office window at the Lagos skyline. She knew she could not fight society's gossip head-on. Public battles would only strengthen her enemies' stories. She needed strategy. At the same time, Amaka's silence did little to help. He moved between homes, speaking to each wife carefully, but his presence only highlighted the division. He believed keeping peace required discretion. Ada knew it only made the public perception worse, a man with two wives, each powerful in her own right, and a city eager for scandal. The children felt the tension as well. Arins and Somto whispered in corners about what others were saying. Even their friends at school asked questions, teasing or showing sympathy. Ada tried to shield them, but the reality was unavoidable. Lagos society had turned her family into a spectacle. She refused to crumble. She refused to show weakness. But deep inside, the fire of anxiety burned. Every step she took in public, every smile she forced, every polite word she spoke, was a calculated effort to maintain dignity while chaos simmered around her. And yet, in her heart, she knew one truth. Society's judgment was not the real threat. The real danger lay in the house she called home, where two wives, one husband, and a growing child wove a web that could destroy everything she held dear. As the sun set over Lagos, Ada sat quietly in her office. The city sparkled with lights, oblivious to the private war raging in one of its elite homes. The battle was far from over, and Lagos society was only just beginning to watch. Amanda Okoro was born into luxury. From the very first day, she had everything: the softest clothes, the finest toys, and the constant attention of her mother, Chiamaka, and her father, Amaka. But what money and indulgence gave her was not balance or humility, it gave her power. As Amanda grew, it became clear she had inherited her mother's cunning nature. Even at age 3, she could manipulate adults with a smile, a pout, or a sudden outburst. Her presence in the Okoro family did more than bring joy to her parents, it created friction, tension, and rivalry. Arins and Somtochukwu had tried to accept the baby at first. They were cautious, distant, trying to protect themselves from the changes the new addition had already brought. But Amanda's behavior made that impossible. During the first visit to the mansion after her birth, Amanda cried for attention, refusing to be soothed by anyone but Chiamaka. When Adaora attempted to pick her up, the baby screamed louder, striking terror into the hearts of the older children. Arins glared. Somto burst into tears, confused by the sudden hostility from a child too young to understand. She is just a baby, Adaora whispered to herself, trying to calm her children. But even she could see it. Amanda had a presence that dominated any room. Soon, the baby's spoiled habits began to escalate. Chiamaka encouraged them, believing that Amanda deserved everything, and that her future depended on being seen as precious and powerful. Gifts arrived daily: a miniature designer wardrobe, a tiny electric car, and personalized toys that made Arins and Somto feel neglected in comparison. One afternoon, the 3 children were in the mansion's playroom. Amanda began throwing her toys at Somto, shrieking until she got the toy she wanted from Emeka's assistant. Arins stood in the corner, fists clenched, watching the injustice. "This isn't fair," he muttered. Somto sniffled. "Why does she get everything, and we have to watch?" Adaora entered the room, trying to mediate. "Children, patience is important. This is not her fault. She's very young. But it feels like she is taking over everything," Arins said quietly. Adaora swallowed hard. She realized that the true danger of Amanda's presence was not her age or innocence, it was the way Chiamaka had molded her into a miniature force of influence. A child trained to command attention and disrupt harmony. Chiamaka, across town in her penthouse, smiled at every report of Amanda's antics. To her, the child was a weapon, an innocent weapon, but a weapon nonetheless. Every display of Amanda's spoiled behavior reminded Lagos society, Emeka, and Adaora that Chiamaka's family had a place at the top, no matter the resentment or tension it created. By the time Amanda reached 4 years old, even the staff in both homes recognized her growing dominance. She threw tantrums that could make a nanny resign. She demanded the best at every meal, at every event, at every interaction. Adaora's children had learned to retreat from her presence. The tension in the Okoro family had now spread beyond adult quarrels. Amanda, innocent as she appeared, was the spark. The war between the 2 queens had found a new battlefield: the children themselves. And in the quiet corners of the mansion, Arins whispered to Somto, "We need a plan. This little devil, she's making our lives miserable." Adaora overheard, her heart heavy with worry. She had protected her children from every threat before, but now the threat had a smile and tiny hands, and it was only growing. 2 wives. 1 husband. A baby who would unknowingly wield chaos. The family's world was unraveling faster than Adaora could control, and Amanda, in all her spoiled glory, was only just beginning to stir the fire. The tranquility of the Okoro mansion in Banana Island was shattered one morning by the arrival of a convoy from Enugu. Family elders, dressed in traditional wrappers and adorned with ceremonial beads, stepped out of their cars with expressions that carried authority, pride, and a hint of judgment. Adaora's heart sank. She knew what this meant. Emeka's family from the village had come to enforce their version of cultural law, a version that could tip the already unsteady balance in the household. Emeka greeted the elders with a mix of respect and unease. Chiamaka, arriving shortly afterward with Amanda, stood proudly beside him, her posture regal as if she were the queen of this unfolding drama. The elders wasted no time. They gathered in the drawing room and began speaking in low, firm voices. Chief Emeka, one elder began, adjusting his cap. "We have come to ensure that the customs of our people are respected. You now have 2 wives. This is not trivial. There are rules. Responsibilities. Order must be maintained, or your family's honor is at risk." Emeka swallowed. He had anticipated some level of interference, but he hadn't expected them to arrive in person. Adaora remained seated, her hands folded calmly in her lap, though her pulse raced. She met Chiamaka's eyes, and for the first time, the younger woman's confidence wavered slightly under the scrutiny of elders who valued tradition over beauty or wealth. The discussion quickly became tense. The second wife, the elder continued, pointing toward Chiamaka, must understand her place. She cannot overshadow the first wife. She must respect the household, the children, and the laws of the family. Chiamaka straightened, her chin high. I respect the customs. I only ask for recognition as the mother of Chief Emeka's child. The elders exchanged glances. Recognition alone would not satisfy them, they needed compliance with hierarchy, not declarations of ambition. Adeora's silence spoke volumes. She let Chiamaka's words hang in the air before responding. Respect is earned, not demanded. My husband and I have a home. I will protect it. A murmur ran through the room. Emeka shifted uncomfortably. His pride battled with his fear that his choices might now be judged by forces he could not control. The eldest elder, a stern woman named Nena, leaned forward. Chief Emeka, you must decide quickly. Your first wife maintains the household. The children are hers. The second wife must accept this or risk scandal in both Lagos and our village. Chiamaka's eyes narrowed, and for the first time, Adeora saw the cracks in her composure. She had believed wealth alone could secure her position, but here, tradition and family authority threatened her ascent. Arguments flared. Voices rose. Emeka tried to mediate, but every word seemed to deepen the rift. Meanwhile, Amanda, oblivious to the tension, crawled toward the elders and began tugging at their wrappers, laughing. The room's mood was momentarily softened by her innocent mischief, a reminder that in the middle of chaos, life continued its unpredictable course. But the elders' presence made it clear, Lagos society was not the only arena for this battle. Inugu, family law, and cultural expectations were equally formidable. By the end of the day, a tense agreement was reached. Chiamaka would receive formal acknowledgement, but her role would remain strictly defined. Adeora retained authority over the home and the children. Yet the damage was done. Conflict had escalated. Power struggles were sharper. Loyalties were tested. As the elders departed, Emeka watched both women, one seated, calm but fierce, the other standing, defiant yet slightly shaken. He realized that wealth alone could no longer shield him from the storms he had unleashed. 2 wives. 1 husband. Cultural law. Chaos that stretched beyond Lagos, reaching into the roots of family tradition. And for the first time, Adeora understood, the real battle had only just begun. The Lagos traffic was chaotic as usual, a relentless tide of cars, buses, and motorcycles jostling for space. Emeka had spent the afternoon shuttling between Banana Island and Victoria Island, trying to maintain a fragile balance between his 2 households. But even he could not control everything that moved in the city. It was late evening when the call came. Obinna, the driver, answered with his usual calm, but his voice was tense. "Sir, there's been an accident," he said. Emeka's heart skipped. "What kind of accident?" "A car, your car," Obinna hesitated. "Someone was injured. We don't know how badly yet." Emeka bolted from the office, his mind racing. He didn't think straight, only that something precious, someone close, could be in danger. At the scene, a crowd had already gathered. The crash had been severe. A sleek black car, unmistakably belonging to the Okoro family, was crumpled against a streetlight. Windows shattered. Bloodstains marred the pavement. The smell of gasoline hung in the air. Adeora arrived moments later, furious and panicked. She pushed through the crowd, eyes scanning for signs of who had been hurt. Who is it?" she demanded, voice trembling. Obinna held back a hand, his face grim. "It's Somto Chukwu. She's badly hurt." The words hit Adeora like a hammer. She froze, then ran toward the paramedics, ignoring the chaos around her. Tears streamed freely. Her little girl, the innocent child caught in the crossfire of her father's mistakes, was now lying in a hospital gurney, injured, and she had no answers. Emeka arrived seconds later, his face pale. He had been with Chiamaka, and the tension between the 2 households had made him forget that accidents, random and cruel, could strike anyone. "What happened?" he asked, voice urgent. Traffic, someone ran a red light. Somto, Adeora's voice cracked. She was thrown from the car. Chiamaka, hearing the news, appeared at the hospital gate soon after, her face a mixture of concern and calculation. No one trusted anyone anymore, and suspicion spread like wildfire. Emeka looked at both women, his hands clenching into fists. Who was driving? He demanded. Obinna stepped forward. Madame Adeora's driver was behind the wheel. But, there's more. Some witnesses said a car tried to force them off the road. It may not have been an accident at all. Adeora's breath caught. Her mind raced with possibilities. Was it a simple mistake, or had someone acted with intent? Was this Chiamaka's influence? Or an outside threat exploiting the family's chaos? Chiamaka raised her hands, defensive. I didn't do this. I had nothing to do with it. But the seed of doubt had already taken root. In Lagos, where gossip traveled faster than the police, whispers spread instantly. Was it an accident or a message? Could this be revenge from Adeora's enemies? Or Chiamaka ensuring her position? The hospital corridors felt suffocating. Emeka paced, unable to calm either himself or the women. Adeora held her daughter's hand, whispering soft prayers. Somto's eyes fluttered open briefly, pain and fear in equal measure. Emeka realized, with chilling clarity, that the family's chaos had grown beyond arguments, wealth, or status. Danger was now physical. Threats could hit anywhere on the streets, in their homes, even in the heart of their lives. The city that had always celebrated the Okoros now whispered in fear and speculation. And inside the mansion, one truth was undeniable. 2 wives. 1 husband. A family in real danger. And someone was hiding the truth. The accident had shaken the Okoro family, but it also revealed deeper cracks that money and power could not conceal. Emeka, once untouchable in Lagos society, now faced a battle he could not outrun, one inside his own body. A week after the crash, Emeka sat in his private office overlooking the Atlantic, pale and unusually quiet. His doctor had confirmed what he had feared. His heart was weakening. Stress, long nights, and tension between 2 households had pushed his body past its limits. Adeora noticed the change immediately. She had spent years managing her own company while maintaining a family, and now she watched the man she once trusted, the father of her children, struggle. There was fear in her chest, a new kind of worry. You should rest, Emeka, she said softly, approaching him. You cannot do everything yourself. He waved her concern away. I am fine, he replied, but even he knew the lie. Every beat of his chest reminded him that control was slipping. Chiamaka, sensing opportunity, visited the mansion less formally now. Her presence was strategic. She smiled politely at Adeora, yet her eyes sparkled with calculation. The whispers of inheritance, of wealth distribution, had reached her ears. A man in poor health is a man whose empire can be divided, she murmured to herself one morning. And the first wife must not think she will inherit everything. Emeka's illness, though private, began influencing every decision. He missed meetings, slept late, and ignored early warnings about his heart. Staff and family noticed his fatigue. The children worried, whispering to each other in corners. Arins, now older, realized that the family's future, his future, could change with one misstep. Adeora tried to maintain stability. She prepared legal documents, safeguarded company shares, and reviewed wills in secret. She knew Chiamaka's ambitions could exploit any weakness. Blood isn't enough, Adeora thought. Love isn't enough. Only foresight will protect what we have built. Meanwhile, Chiamaka used every visit to plant seeds of influence with Emeka. She discussed baby Amanda's future, investments, and even subtly questioned the value of Adeora's company involvement. Her charm worked in small doses, enough to make Emeka hesitate, enough to weaken Adeora's standing in his mind. One evening, Emeka fainted in his office. Adeora and Obinna rushed him to the hospital. The diagnosis was clear: without immediate lifestyle changes, his health would deteriorate rapidly. The hospital room was silent except for the steady beep of the monitor. Adeora sat by his bedside, holding his hand. For the first time, She realized the stakes of the household war had shifted dramatically. It was no longer just about jealousy, money, or social perception. It was about legacy, inheritance, and control over what Amaka had built. Chiamaka, informed by her connections, arrived at the hospital with Amanda in tow. She presented herself as the concerned mother, careful to appear gentle and supportive. Yet Aurora could feel the tension radiating from every word, every look. Inside the mansion and the hospital, silent battles raged. Plans were being formed. Alliances tested. Loyalties questioned. And Amaka, weakened but still proud, realized that blood alone could not protect him from the storm he had created. 2 wives. 1 husband. 1 empire at risk. Chaos had escalated from love and jealousy to survival, inheritance, and strategy, a war where every heartbeat mattered. The mansion, once a symbol of wealth and unity, had grown tense and fragile, like a glass sculpture teetering on the edge of a table. Behind every closed door, whispered conversations and secret glances hinted at loyalties shifting and alliances forming. It was Obinna, the loyal driver, who first noticed the unusual behavior. One evening, he caught one of the staff sneaking into Amaka's private study, carrying a small envelope and glancing over their shoulder nervously. Obinna's instincts screamed that something was wrong. He followed quietly, hiding in the shadows. Inside the study, the staff member, a house assistant who had served the family for years, handed the envelope to someone waiting in the shadows. To Obinna's horror, it was Chiamaka, whispering sharply, "Do not fail me, or everything collapses." Obinna froze. Betrayal was no longer a distant threat. It was happening under his eyes, in the heart of the home he had protected for nearly a decade. The next day, Aurora noticed subtle changes in Amaka's behavior. He seemed distracted, irritated over small things, and unusually defensive. She asked about a missing document, a legal contract she had been reviewing, and Amaka's quick denial and abrupt dismissal set off alarm bells in her mind. Aurora decided to investigate quietly. Late at night, she reviewed security footage and intercepted messages. Her heart sank when she found proof. Chiamaka had plotted to manipulate company shares and secure assets for herself and Amanda, bypassing Adeora's authority. Aurora confronted Amaka at breakfast the following morning. The house was silent except for the clatter of silverware. "Amaka," she said carefully, her voice steady but cold, "I know about the envelope. I know about the plan." Amaka froze, unsure whether to deny it or confess. Chiamaka, arriving with Amanda in her arms, sensed the confrontation immediately. "Are you accusing me?" she demanded, her voice a mixture of outrage and calculated calm. Adeora's gaze did not waver. "I am accusing the person who plotted behind your husband's back to take what is mine and what belongs to this family." Amaka ran a hand through his hair, trapped between the 2 women. "Aurora, please, it's not what you think." But the evidence spoke louder than words. The contracts, messages, and secret notes all confirmed what Aurora already suspected. Betrayal had a price, and tonight it had a face. Chiamaka's composure cracked slightly. She tried to smile, but Aurora could see the fear and calculation beneath. "You think you can control everything," Aurora whispered, stepping closer, "but you will not break this family." Obinna watched silently from the hallway. He had always protected Aurora and the children, but he realized that now, even Amaka's judgment was clouded by pride and weakness. The household he once knew was gone, replaced by schemes, rivalries, and deceit. That night, trust was shattered. Conversations were guarded. Amaka no longer felt secure in his own home. The staff whispered among themselves, choosing sides carefully. And the children, innocent observers, sensed the tension, their world now filled with fear, uncertainty, and the faint but unmistakable smell of betrayal. Aurora understood a truth that money and social status could not hide. Loyalty was fragile, and betrayal could destroy everything in its path. 2 wives. 1 husband. 1 family fractured by ambition and deceit. And the price of betrayal? It was everything. The chaos of the Okoro household had spilled beyond the confines of the mansion. Lagos society whispered, staff exchanged rumors, and the children's school friends knew too much. But now, the battle had moved to a new battlefield, The courtroom. A crisp envelope arrived at Adeora's office one morning. The embossed letterhead and formal seal immediately made her heart race. It was a court summons. Chiamaka, emboldened by her previous schemes, had initiated legal action against Emeka, seeking recognition as the mother of a share of his wealth and control over certain family assets. Adeora's assistant, Ngozi, looked worried. "Madam, it's public. Once this reaches the newspapers, Lagos will know everything." Adeora's jaw tightened. She had long feared this day. Secrets that had simmered quietly were about to be exposed in full view of lawyers, judges, reporters, and society elites. The courtroom was packed on the first day. Flashing cameras, scribes, and reporters documented every moment. Chiamaka arrived first, dressed impeccably, holding Amanda in her arms. Her smile was calm, almost serene, but Adeora could see the determination behind it. She was ready to fight. Adeora entered moments later, calm but resolute. She carried herself like a queen defending her crown, knowing that this trial was not just about money, it was about reputation, family integrity, and survival. The judge called the court to order, and the proceedings began. Chiamaka's lawyer laid out a detailed case, claims of unfair treatment, denial of rightful access, and promises Emeka had allegedly made. Every word was calculated to undermine Adeora's position, suggesting that she had been an obstacle to Chiamaka's rightful share. Adeora's lawyer responded meticulously, presenting evidence of her years of sacrifice, financial contributions, and, importantly, proof that Chiamaka's marriage and inheritance claims were manipulated through secretive schemes. Documents, photos, and witness testimonies revealed alliances, deceit, and planning that had been hidden from the family and the public. Emeka sat between the two women, his pride and indecision on full display. He realized that his inaction had brought the family into public scrutiny, a stage where every lie, omission, and betrayal would be judged not only by law but by Lagos society. The court reporter noted the tension. Every whisper, every glance, and every subtle nod spoke volumes. Chiamaka attempted to charm the judge and the public, portraying herself as the wronged mother, while Adeora maintained dignity, calmly presenting the truth. Outside the courtroom, Lagos society followed closely. News outlets and social media platforms erupted. Headlines splashed across screens. Banana Island tycoon's marital war goes public. 2 wives, 1 husband, the court decides. Secrets of the Okoro mansion revealed in court. Even the children were aware. Arins, frustrated and scared, overheard classmates whispering about his family. Somtochukwu clung to Adeora, sensing the fear but not fully understanding the scale. By the end of the first day, no clear winner emerged. But one truth was undeniable: the secrets that had once been confined to whispers in the mansion were now public knowledge. Adeora and Chiamaka faced each other across the courtroom aisle, realizing that this battle, legal, social, and personal, would change their lives forever. 2 wives. 1 husband. A family's darkest secrets exposed to the world. And in Lagos, everyone was watching. The trial had pushed the Okoro family into the public eye, but the real chaos was spreading behind the scenes. Friends, confidants, and even long-trusted staff began choosing sides. Alliances shifted like quicksand, and the mansion no longer felt like a home, it was a battlefield. Adeora had always relied on a close circle of friends for counsel and support. But in the weeks following the court summons, whispers reached her ears that some of these friends were secretly meeting with Chiamaka, sharing strategies, and offering advice on how to gain leverage over her. One evening, during a quiet dinner at the mansion, Adeora noticed her longtime friend, Ifema, speaking in hushed tones with Chiamaka's assistant just outside the drawing room. Adeora's heart sank. Ifema had been her friend for over 15 years, a confidant she had trusted with her deepest fears. Now, suspicion took root. Later that night, Adeora confronted Ifema. "Why are you helping her?" she asked softly, yet with a sharp edge. Ifema looked down, unable to meet her eyes. "Adeora, I just thought," she began, hesitating. "I thought it might be better for the children if there's peace." Adeora's chest tightened. Peace? Or betrayal? In the mansion, loyalty had become a dangerous illusion. Chiamaka, aware that whispers of support were shifting her way, moved quickly to solidify her influence. She offered gifts, promises, and flattery to staff, neighbors, and minor business associates. Her goal was clear: to weaken Adeora's network, to isolate her emotionally, socially, and financially. Even Emeka, caught between the two women, began to see cracks in his support system. Staff who had been loyal for years now hesitated before taking directions from him. Friends called, their advice cautious, tinged with the fear of offending Chiamaka. The children, sensing the tension, became more withdrawn. Arins, frustrated by the sudden coldness of some family friends, began questioning who could be trusted. Somtochukwu, sensitive and perceptive, cried easily when adults argued, afraid that the adults she depended on might turn against each other, or even her. Adeora realized that the war was no longer only about money, status, or the children. It was about influence, about who controlled perception. Friends had turned into enemies. Allies were now a liability. Every word, every gesture, and every decision carried weight. The wrong move could cause irreversible damage. Chiamaka, meanwhile, reveled in the chaos she had created. She smiled at every sign of tension, aware that fear and uncertainty could be as powerful as wealth. One evening, as Adeora stood in the mansion's balcony overlooking Lagos, she whispered to herself, "I thought I knew loyalty, but chaos does not follow rules." The city lights shimmered below, indifferent to the battles raging in the mansions above. Lagos had become a mirror of the family's fractured world, glittering, vibrant, and full of hidden dangers. 2 wives. 1 husband. Friends who turned into enemies. And chaos that had now grown beyond anyone's control. Adeora understood one chilling truth: in a house divided by ambition, even love could become a weapon. The Okoro mansion had never felt smaller, colder, or more tense. Every room seemed to hum with anticipation, every hallway carried whispers of betrayal, and every glance was measured like a chess move. Chiamaka had been quietly building her power for months, and now she was ready to strike hard. It started in the morning. Adeora awoke to find a stack of official-looking letters on her desk, each stamped with a government seal and marked urgent. Her heart sank as she read through them. Business accounts were frozen, company approvals delayed, and legal claims were being filed against assets she had thought untouchable. Emeka entered the room, visibly exhausted, rubbing his temples. "Adeora." His words faltered, but she didn't wait for an explanation. She had already guessed. Chiamaka had orchestrated this. Every move, every subtle influence, every whispered suggestion to lawyers and business contacts, it had been part of a meticulously planned attack. By midday, Lagos society was abuzz. The story of Chiamaka's latest maneuver had leaked. She had filed claims not only to secure Amanda's future but to gain temporary control over household finances and key properties. Social media exploded with reactions, some praising her cunning, others condemning her audacity. Adeora paced her office, feeling the weight of betrayal pressing down on her chest. She had anticipated challenges, but Chiamaka's precision stunned her. Every legal loophole had been exploited, every ally quietly persuaded, every weakness leveraged. The children, sensing tension, stayed close to Adeora. Amanda, oblivious to the chaos she had been born into, laughed and played in the corner, a stark contrast to the storm raging around her. By evening, Chiamaka made her move in person. She arrived at the mansion, her presence commanding. Dressed in an elegant suit and carrying Amanda, she walked into the living room like a queen claiming her throne. "Adeora," she said calmly, her voice sharp yet polite, "I hope you understand everything I am doing is for my daughter. She deserves security, protection, and recognition. You would do the same if the roles were reversed." Adeora stared, fury and disbelief rising. "Security? Recognition? You are trying to destroy my life." Chiamaka smiled faintly. "No. I am only making sure justice is done. You have had your time. Now, it's my turn." Emeka watched silently, torn between the two women. His pride, his authority, even his love, seemed meaningless against the storm Chiamaka had unleashed. Obinna, ever vigilant, knew this strike had been months in the making. Every detail he had witnessed, every secret meeting, every envelope passed, Every whispered plan had led to this moment. The family was on the brink of collapse, and the consequences would be severe. By nightfall, Ada understood the truth. Chiamaka had shifted the battlefield. No longer was this about rivalry or gossip. It was about control over property, wealth, influence, and the very structure of their family. 2 wives. 1 husband. A child used as leverage. And a mistress who had just struck hard, leaving chaos in her wake. As Ada sat alone in her study, staring at the city lights, a chilling realization settled over her. This was far from over. Chiamaka had shown her hand. And Ada would need every ounce of strategy, courage, and resilience to fight back. The storm had arrived, and Lagos was watching. The night in Lagos felt heavier than usual, the city's lights dimmed under a sky thick with tension. Inside the Okoro mansion, Ada sat in her study, the weight of months of betrayal pressing down on her. Chiamaka had struck hard, unrelenting, and the household teetered on the edge of collapse. But for Ada surrender was never an option. She reviewed the files spread across her desk, legal documents, financial statements, contracts, and confidential reports. Every mistake Chiamaka had made, every miscalculation, every moment of overconfidence was now being catalogued meticulously. Ada was building her counterattack, piece by piece, thread by thread. She remembered the court hearing, the accusations, the whispers from friends who had turned traitor, and the chaotic storm Chiamaka had created. And she made a decision: if the enemy would strike, she would strike harder. Not out of malice, but to reclaim her family, her children, and her dignity. Obinna, ever her silent guardian, entered quietly. "Madam, are you sure about this path?" he asked. His voice carried concern, knowing that revenge was a dangerous game. Ada looked up, her eyes steely. "Obinna, I am not seeking vengeance for myself. I am protecting my children, our family, and the legacy of what Amaka and I built. Chiamaka has shown she will not stop, neither will I." Plans were laid carefully. She began contacting lawyers, business partners, and friends she still trusted, consolidating support quietly, strategically. Her moves were precise. Every legal loophole Chiamaka had exploited would now be turned against her. Every public misstep, every indiscretion would be documented. But Ada knew this battle was not only legal or financial. It was personal. Chiamaka had used Amanda, the child, as a weapon. Ada would protect her children at all costs. She would not allow a baby to become a pawn in a game of power. Meanwhile, Chiamaka remained unaware of the full scope of Adeora's preparations. Confident in her victory, she continued flaunting influence, wealth, and charm, believing that Ada had been cornered and broken. Every public display, every social media post, every gift to the household staff, all carefully orchestrated, had made Chiamaka complacent. Adeora's strategy was simple yet terrifyingly effective: patience, intelligence, and timing. She understood that Chiamaka's arrogance would be her downfall. The city of Lagos, society, and even Amaka would soon witness the first wave of her counterattack. That evening, Ada sent out letters, coordinated meetings, and quietly gathered proof of Chiamaka's manipulations. Obinna watched in silence, knowing that the quiet storm rising within Ada was unlike anything he had ever seen. In the quiet of her study, Ada whispered to herself, 2 wives. 1 husband. 1 family. And 1 woman who refuses to lose. Outside, Lagos slept, unaware that a new force had awakened in the Okoro mansion. Adeora's patience, intelligence, and resolve were about to change the course of the war forever. And the city would see that Ada was no longer the victim. She was the challenger, the strategist, the queen who refused to fall. 2 wives. 1 husband. And a battle that had only just begun. The storm was coming, and this time, it would be Ada who decided how it struck. The Okoro mansion was silent for the first time in months. Even the staff tiptoed through hallways, afraid to disturb the storm that had been quietly building. Ada had spent weeks preparing her counterattack, every detail planned, every weakness of Chiamaka exposed. That evening, she invited Amaka to her study. The documents on her desk were irrefutable, proof of Chiamaka's schemes, financial manipulations, and attempts to undermine the household. Adeora's confidence radiated as she spoke calmly, presenting her case. Amaka, it's time to see the truth. This household cannot survive with deception at its heart, Adeora said, her voice steady but filled with quiet fury. Amaka's face reflected exhaustion and shame. Adeora. His words faltered. He could feel the weight of the past months, of his indecision, of the chaos he had allowed to grow. But just as Adeora believed she had the upper hand, the unexpected happened. A sharp knock at the door made everyone tense. Obinna answered cautiously. Outside stood a tall man in a tailored suit, carrying an envelope with a black seal. I am looking for Chief Amaka Okoro, the man said in a cold, formal tone. This concerns the Okoro family and will affect everything immediately. Amaka took the envelope, hands shaking slightly. He broke the seal, eyes widening as he read the contents. Adeora leaned in, curiosity mixed with dread. Inside the envelope was a single, chilling statement. You have both underestimated the forces watching. Every action has consequences. One mistake and everything is gone. Attached were documents showing frozen assets abroad, pending investigations into Amaka's businesses, and threats that no money or influence could easily deflect. The family's empire, what they had built, what they had fought over, was suddenly under attack from an unseen, powerful adversary. Chiamaka, who had been quietly observing, smiled faintly, but Adeora noticed the flicker of fear in her eyes. Even the mistress who had struck hard now realized that their war was no longer just between them. A greater threat loomed, unpredictable and unstoppable. Amaka sank into his chair, overwhelmed. This cannot be happening, he whispered. His pride, his power, and his carefully maintained control were suddenly meaningless. Adeora's mind raced. Her carefully planned revenge, her counterattack against Chiamaka, all seemed fragile now. Everything she had fought for, her children, her dignity, her home, was suddenly at risk from forces she had never anticipated. The children, sensing the tension, clung to each parent. Amanda laughed innocently, unaware that the adults around her were facing a battle far beyond jealousy or rivalry. In that moment, the mansion felt smaller than ever. 2 wives, 1 husband, and a child were caught in a storm they could not fully control. Chaos had transformed into something darker, more unpredictable, and the future of the Okoro family was left hanging by a thread. Adeora stared out at the Lagos skyline, lights shimmering like distant stars, and whispered to herself, who truly wins when the house itself is under threat? The answer was unknown. And now, Lagos, and you, the viewer, are left with the question. Who will survive this storm? Will Adeora reclaim her family, or will Chiamaka triumph in a way no one saw coming? Or is there an even greater power at work, waiting to destroy them all? 2 wives. 1 husband. 1 family's fate unknown. What would you do if you were in Adeora's shoes?
Who is your favorite character so far? What would you do in this situation? Are you Team Justice or Team Revenge? Before you go, let me know where you are watching from in the comments. Tell me your country or city. If you enjoyed this story, please hit like, smash the subscribe button, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss what happens next. Share this video with someone who loves dramatic folktales and city stories. Trust me, the next episode will be even more shocking than this one. You definitely don't want to miss it.